Good evening, everybody. Welcome in. It's a later stream tonight to have some fun talking about horror comics and late night. It's where we got to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You can't talk horror during the light of day.
Right. We got to scare some people tonight. So tonight, joining me is J.M. Brandt, the co-writer of Swamp Dogs, House of Crows from Black Caravan Comics, the Scout Comics imprint. His
Howdy.
co-writers Theo Prasidis. Am I saying that right?
I say Prasidis. I haven't been corrected yet, so I guess I'm doing something right.
Right. That's probably a good sign there. And this is the issue 1 that we're talking about here. Issue 2 coming out March 2nd is what I'm seeing is tentatively, depending on release dates.
Right. Yeah, it does sound like March 2nd will happen.
What's up, Michael and Lewis? Thanks for hopping in here. Yeah. And Bradley, what's going on? Bradley Golden just actually had one of his books come out today. These Damn Kids. Speaking of horror comics.
Right. Hey, Bradley.
So we're gonna be talking about horror. We're gonna be talking about Swamp Dogs. Wow, House of Crows. I was trying to throw into the Swamp Dogs name.
Right. Yeah.
Swamp of Dogs.
Swamp of Dogs. Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. But yeah. So usually, what we do on the channel, we have our guests tell a little bit about how they got into comics and then how they got into comic creating.
Sure.
To kick things off.
Okay, so I got into comics when I was a little kid. I grew up in the 80s, and actually, I was just answering an interview, and it pulled out like all these old memories. But I guess my first actual exposure to comics was the 1960s Marvel cartoons. Like the really bad Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. And so at the video rental store near my house when I was maybe 3 or 4, they had a few VHS tapes of those, and I rented them religiously and watched them religiously and wore through the tapes in the process. As soon as I started getting an allowance, I knew I wanted to buy just comics, with it. And I believe the first issue I ever bought with my own money was a back issue of Moon Knight, and I've been hooked ever since. I fell for all that 90s pouchy Marvel stuff, and
so you're pretty excited for the upcoming Moon Knight series, then?
I am. I'm really excited. Say what you will about Warren Ellis, because we all know that there were some awful things about the man. He is a good writer, and his Moon Knight series is one of my favorite runs of the character, and it feels like they're going to be drawing a fair bit from that and the Jeff Lemire run, so I'm hoping.
Yeah, and I have zero knowledge of Moon Knight other than bits and pieces, and then my made up knowledge of Moon Knight, which is the memes of him asking Dracula for his money. That's
right.
Some good stuff there.
Yeah. No, I think we're in for a treat. I think it's going to be really good. I've been fond of pretty much all those Marvel shows, but I do like when they get serious. I think that works better.
Need a little bit of the edge.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's coming from a horror writer, so.
Yeah, that'll play right into your specialty there. So how did you get into writing comics?
So I got into writing comics basically because of a failed movie pitch. Okay. Swamp Dogs started out as a movie pitch to the producers of the Halloween series, and at the time it was very different than it is now. Some of the core concepts remained. It was supposed to be in Louisiana. It was supposed to involve undead Confederates, but they were they were more not mindless, but like didn't have any personality to them.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. It was supposed to be a reimagining of a movie from the 1970s from Spain called Tombs of the Blind Dead. And so they
Okay.
were supposed to be blind and hunted by sound. And, when the movie pitch didn't go anywhere, the idea stayed. The idea stayed, and it kept growing and mutating and adjusting. And when I met Theo working at Screen Rant, by then I had decided I really wanted to turn it into a comic book, and that that would be a fantastic way of telling the story. And then if by chance it was going to be adapted, like so be it. But like more
Right.
the idea was just to get the idea out there and in the hands of people. So yeah, that was, we started working on it together a long time ago, and it took on a life of its own after he got involved.
So what was the writing process like with having a co-writer? And what did you guys do? Did you one of you work on certain aspects of the writing, or was it kind of a
Right.
back and forth, tossing ideas back and forth between each other?
Well, because we had sort of the core pieces before he even got on, I've sort of, in a lot of ways, taken a lead. Um, but usually what'll happen is he and I'll go back and forth on ideas, what we want to happen, how we want it to happen. We had the skeleton very early on with that, and we'll kind of argue a little bit about the finer points and how to transition from one scene to another, something like that. And over the course of the writing, we've sort of fallen naturally into places that interest us more in terms of the writing. So typically, what'll happen is he will take one piece and I'll take another piece, and then we'll go back over each other's writing and smooth it over so that it doesn't seem schizophrenic, so that like there's one consistent voice throughout the whole thing.
Okay, awesome. And
Yeah.
so, talking about this book, for
Mhm.
those that don't know what Swamp Dogs is about, what's kind of the 30-second little pitch of
Right.
what we got going on here? Because anyone who hasn't even looked at it could look at this cover and just say, "Wow, this looks awesome." We got zombies, we got some rock and roll, we got some ladies leading probably a little bit in this book,
Mhm.
and of course
Yes.
we got crows.
And you got crows. There's a fun fact. We're gonna have crows open every single issue. So every single issue is gonna have like a little crow bit to it. And
Okay.
I think you're the first person that I've said that in an interview with. So
I like
uh,
I like that touch. And are these crows
yeah.
gonna have a little bit of personality too?
Crows just naturally have personality, don't they?
It's
Yeah,
true.
I think out of every bird, they have maybe the most. Parrots, they talk, but who cares about parrots? Crows,
Right.
crows have personality.
It's too much built-in personality because they can have a voice.
Exactly, exactly. Crows do it with action, not with words. So yeah, the way that I pitched it to the cover artist Robert Samlin, and how I got somebody way out of my league to be doing covers for us, is I said it was a young lesbian couple and a goofy stoner metal band versus voodoo powered undead Confederate soldiers. And he said he was in, and that's kind of how we recruited every single person to the team, is
And
with that one sentence. And it just goes to show that we're all of a like mind with it, and
yeah.
we knew that we wanted kick-ass covers to draw people in, because I'm a nobody, Theo's a relative nobody, so how else are they going to know to pick up the book if they don't see an awesome cover?
Well, this is how you become a somebody.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you you put out that kind of a story, and having read it, that's exactly what we got going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's right to the point, and keeps it simple with one sentence. But I mean, every writer starts somewhere, and
Yeah.
this is a great start.
Oh, thank
Awesome,
you. I
awesome
appreciate it.
start. I really enjoyed reading that first issue, and the art that you got in here. Who is it again? Huber Ball?
Yeah, Cuber Ball. He's currently doing The Vengeance of Vampirella, and he is also now doing a G.I. Joe book. But we found him because he was doing Army of Darkness, one of the spin-offs that was like post-apocalyptic. And I said,
Okay.
like, oh man, he can do, gore, and he can do pretty women, and
Right.
he was just perfect. And, it turns out that he's also just a really cool dude. And then we have Ruth Redmond doing the colors, and she's done Deadpool and Spider-Man and all that other good stuff. So she's fantastic as well.
Talented team overall.
Yeah. I think so. But maybe I'm biased.
I mean, you gotta love the team you're working with. But yeah, so issue 1 came out end of last year.
Yeah,
so all the delays.
Yeah, there were delays. It was slated to be early October. The idea was that we were going to announce it, sometime officially July. Originally, pre-pandemic, we were going to go to Comic-Con and have that be the big announcement for Black Caravan. But it didn't quite turn out that way. So, yeah, there was a paper shortage that began right around the time that my comic book was slated to come out. And so it pushed it back only just like a few weeks. So it was end of October. But issue 2 has been delayed now for 2 months.
Yeah.
Because of the paper shortage. It was supposed to be in January.
And I know for a little while, I think there was like maybe a whole month where Scout didn't get to put anything out because of all of that going on.
Yeah, exactly.
But I do remember this came out right. Like I thought it was perfect timing, right around Halloween. Get the start of this horror series going right around Halloween. So that worked out well.
Yeah,
even if it had a little delay.
Right. Yeah. No. At least it hit before Halloween. We were just hoping like everybody would be in sort of that spooky season spirit and want to pick up the book, want to give something new a chance.
Yeah, and I read issue 2 that you sent over, and it's even wilder than issue 1. Some of those, I didn't see a couple of those things coming.
Okay.
Towards the end, I don't want to spoil anything for people out there. But the kind of the mystery location, I guess I'll say.
Okay.
And some of the things that happen there.
Yeah. One of the things that's been really interesting to me, and I was talking to a friend about this like maybe 2 days ago, is it's been such a fully formed idea in my head for so long that it seems almost fated or destined to progress in a certain way. And so it mystifies me when people are confused by what's happening. And what I had noticed with like reviews and just people talking originally was there were several people that were saying, I'm a little bit confused by issue 1. There's so many different like hanging threads and, cliffhangers and stuff, but I don't see how it's all going to tie together. And in my mind, I'm just like, how do you guys not see how this is going to tie together? But I know the story. I know the ending. So
I 100% remember commenting on somebody's post on Instagram about, they're like, I don't get what these Confederate soldiers have to do with anything. I'm like, they're the zombies. They're the zombies that are like at the end of it. What? He hit his head on the gravestone that had the Confederate flag on it, and the blood did some sign of kind of thing and brought them back.
Right.
Assuming.
Yeah. No. You're very close. Yeah, it was a combination of things was the idea. He
Yeah.
accidentally burns some of his hair under like a full moon, and that, you know, because he's smoking, the homeless person is smoking a cigarette, and the embers catch his beard, and then he does the blood sacrifice unwittingly to a Confederate gravestone. So yeah, just sort of that bumbling into fulfilling some sort of a ancient prophecy.
A series of unfortunate events.
Exactly, exactly. The only thing that's a little bit different, and you learn this or you will learn it as time goes on, is these aren't exactly zombies. They are smart and they're fast and they're mean, and they don't need to eat people to live. Like there's going to be some eating, but that's mostly just because they're cruel and unhinged.
Because they're former Confederates.
You know, so okay, so we are really in the trenches with issue 3 right now. Issue
Okay.
3 is slated to come out in April. Um, issue 3 is a flashback issue. It's sort of the origin story of the Swamp Dogs, where we get to learn how much we're supposed to hate them. And
Mm.
uh, if they were just Confederates, like, you know, you could make a case that, you know, it's politics and,
You're
you know,
right.
maybe there's some room for sympathy there. They're just, you know, brother versus brother kind of a thing.
These were the worst
We
of them.
erase all doubt about that. Like, you hate these
Yeah.
people. These are people that the Confederacy were afraid to sort of like put into the limelight. Several of these people were taken out of battle because they were giving the burgeoning country a bad name, essentially. So yeah, you're
Of,
gonna
of,
find out
of
like how,
the rebels, they were they were the worst.
yeah, it's a hive
Even
of villainy and scum, right? Like
yeah, it's like even the people that were known as the people that were like for the country bad,
mhm.
even they didn't want them.
Right. Yeah, they're monsters among
Oof.
monsters, definitely. And so it's only fitting, I guess, if you're the worst person imaginable and then you've been dead for 150 years and you come back and you're super powerful all of a sudden and no longer have to worry about decorum at all, you're just going to be 10 times as sinister and sadistic, I
And
think.
now they can literally be monsters.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. So
Oof.
that's kind of the point, you know, and actually that's something that we said in the pitch for the comic when we were sending it around, was that we don't want there to be any sort of like gray area. You know, this is not some sort of nuanced story. This is a black and white, uh for lack of a better term, horror story where you just want to root against the villains, whether or not there's a happy ending.
You want to root for our rock band and our ladies.
Exactly. Exactly. Who doesn't want to root for a rock band and ladies, right?
We could see a little bit more about the rock band in issue 2.
Yes. Yeah. That's one of the things that I've been very anxious about, and one of the things that I'm really excited about for March is I think that there's a lot more personality that comes out in issue 2
Mm-hmm.
because we get to meet this band, because we get to go in their van with them and get to know them a little bit better. And it honestly, so far, I would say it's my favorite issue that I wrote.
It
It's
was
it's just a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it because of that fact that we get to see more of their character.
Right.
Whereas, the first issue it was just kind of like, oh, there's the band, they're playing on stage. I know this one, whatever. And it was focused more on the girls and the what was going on with the Confederates in the past, and then the zombies coming back.
Right.
But this one, yeah, we definitely second issue, we get to see a lot of them, and I like that. I like to, we get to see more of our hopefully heroes if they get to survive this. But they all definitely had unique personalities. So that was something I liked. It wasn't just like you're all banned.
Right.
Banned is this personality.
They're not all the tough guy or like the cool one or the stoner or something. Yeah, they definitely all have their own personality. And honestly, I think that issue 2 really fleshes out the girls too, Ayana and Violet, the couple, because I mean, really, I had a friend explain issue 1's meet cute to me as sort of like a Skinemax movie. He just like it was almost like the lead into a porno, with just like a little bit more romantic overtones to it. And I think that you really sort of see how the two of them play off of each other and sort of that NRE new relationship energy sort of coming through.
Yeah. I could pick that up in that second issue with what they've got going on, and try not to spoil anything that's going on.
We can dance around things.
But the beginning of the story is actually more, or the beginning of issue 2 is actually more where I thought the events that happened towards the end were going to happen, like where they were first located.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's why I said I actually was surprised by when and where things happened, was because of their original location being similar to where some of that happened before, I guess, many years ago, back when the Confederates were walking through.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. That was sort of another thing that I picked up on from different people talking about the book is so many people just assumed that we were already in our final location from the very beginning. And there's a little bit more of an odyssey to it than...
gotta take a little bit of a journey.
Yeah, just a little road trip. That's all.
Yeah.
So
but now like reflecting back, I'm like, I remember now something else in issue 1 that would have hinted because the background where the graveyard was
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So anyways.
Well, honestly, I don't think that's giving anything away. There is a mansion that plays into issue 1, and they do wind up at this plantation mansion.
Yeah.
The reveal of it is very nice looking, but yeah, I don't think that's a spoiler for anybody.
Okay.
And if anybody that's watching this video right now is upset that I spoiled that, I'm sorry, but the creator says that one's okay. We can we can give that one away. And I realize I'm talking about all this character study stuff, and I guess that's the writer part of me talking. There's still a lot of horror in issue 2, folks, so buy it for that too. There's some pretty gnarly gore in there.
We gotta know more about the characters to care about them when they're put into these situations.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just drop people into a meat grinder if you don't care about them.
So with all the different characters, is there anywhere besides, you said that that movie where you thought about for the zombies, but these other characters, do you draw inspiration from anywhere for them?
That's a really good question.
Or does Theo pull anything in that, mixes with what you're thinking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it just comes from life experience, mostly. Even though these characters are nuanced and everything, we're still working inside of the sort of grindhouse horror genre. So everybody does have an archetype. They might be like a little bit more deep than the average dead meat or cannon fodder in a horror movie, but they still play their parts. They're still caricatures of people, for lack of a better term. So mostly it comes from just watching thousands of horror movies and just sort of like combining some of our favorite characters into a personality that we want these people to be people that you'd want to hang out with for the most part, unless and you'll see more of this later on, unless they're specifically supposed to be assholes, and then we make you want to not like them, but understand why other people are around them.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I'll say this: I love horror comics, but I've never really gotten into movies and anything like that. Just comics
Okay.
is where I've gotten my love for horror, but I don't know. Maybe I need to revisit movies and see if, now that I've spent so much time reading about it, I'll enjoy watching again.
I will
But
say that you are 2/5 of the way into a very nice horror movie right now.
yeah, and I
The
hope
idea
that
was,
this approach takes it back to the movie pitch approach where you started with it.
yeah, it would be nice. I could see it working as a movie. I could see it working as a TV show, the animated series. Electric Black, which is from Black Caravan, is has been optioned as a cartoon from oh god, Starburns Industries. So when
Yes.
that news dropped, I was like, oh yeah, like we could be a cartoon. Why not?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, it would be cool to be adapted in one way or another. But the idea behind those 5 issues is it's sort of an introduction to the world of the Swamp Dogs, and we wanted it to play out like a movie. And that's from the intro of the comic book, where it's a flashback, to the really cool title sequence, that flashes on a 2-page spread. We're pacing everything like an old school grindhouse horror movie. Yes.
That was cool.
Thank
I'm
you.
a sucker for a 2-page splash, like, of what the title is, like that. Like something, I feel like the first one for me, that when I was reading books, Something is Killing the Children, like, had that, and I was like, all right, I'm in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
2 pages into the story, I didn't even know what else was going on, but I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And so you put that, you got me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's an attention grabber. We had because we originally had a different illustrator on the insides, and he had done that first flashback issue was about, or the flashback part of the issue was as far as he
Okay.
had gotten with it, and it had a very different spin to it, where the water was very, very obviously shaped like a skull, and
Mm,
that gave it like a very interesting different flavor to it. I'm happy
okay.
where we wound up, but
Yeah.
it would have been cool the other way too. Just would have been a very different tone for the book.
Right, right. So one thing that I noticed with the titles, we have Swamp Dogs, but we have like a second part to the name, House of Crows.
Yes. Yes.
In that thought process, and I guess thinking about horror movies,
Hmm.
are there thoughts in your head about a sequel, Swamp Dogs, colon something else?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that was always the plan. This miniseries is again sort of more of an introduction into the world of the Swamp Dogs, but there's lasting effects from it.
Okay.
And I don't want to give away too much,
Don't.
but there is there is something that happens later in the book, that's sort of the Swamp Dogs coming back themselves is a Pandora's box, right? It's something that's been open; it can't be undone, and that just sort of snowballs, and things
Mm,
get extrapolated, and then the world is just that much worse for wear. So the plan right now is at least 2 other ongoing series instead of a mini
okay.
series, and those would be Swamp Dogs, tentatively Pets Unleashed, and Swamp Dogs War Pigs.
Okay.
Yeah, and one would be near future after the events of House of Crows, and one would be post-apocalyptic, essentially.
is War Pigs the post-apocalyptic
It
thing?
is, yes.
I assume
Yeah.
the pets have to be a little bit closer.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So, yeah, it might not all make sense just yet, but as time goes on,
Cool.
I wouldn't say that we're taking it in expected directions, but it won't not make sense, if that makes any sense.
It won't not make sense. I love it.
Well, I
Um,
mean, to say that it's, not a curveball or a left turn
right.
would be me just being dishonest.
Yeah. So we're talking about horror movies. What are some of your favorites there that not necessarily that you draw inspiration for this, but just that have kind of gotten you more and more into the genre?
Right. It's a good question. Um, my horror taste is all over the place. I mean, when I say thousands of movies, I'm literally mean over 1,000 horror movies, possibly two. Um, some of my favorites, I would say I'm a big sucker for horror comedies if they're done right.
Okay.
So Evil Dead 2, I love. Dead Alive, Peter Jackson's horror comedy. I love that one too. Um, I'm a big John Carpenter fan. So In the Mouth of Madness is one of my favorites, and The Thing. Uh, and one of the places that I do draw a lot of inspiration for the gore part of is the Italian splatter films from the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
So, like maybe the most famous, if you're not familiar with horror movies, is a movie called Zombie. Um, it's a pseudo sequel, sort of, technically, kind of Dawn of the Dead, the George Romero
Okay.
movie. But it has nothing to do with it other than there's zombies there, and it's really cool. Um,
I might have been Googling to see if I could pull up the. Oh man.
yeah, I don't want to
Oh,
give
Zombie
away
with
too
an
much.
eye
Yes,
only.
sorry, Zombie with an eye only. Although
Okay.
if you get a US release, it sometimes is with the E. Um, and weirdly enough, like when I say pseudo sequel, in Italy, Dawn of the Dead is called Zombie with an I, and
Mm-hmm.
then this movie Zombie is called Zombie 2.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
that's yeah.
Apparently they kept going too.
Oh yeah, they kept going and it gets really bad really quick.
I kind of like for me I feel like I things I have ended up found some interest in the horror movies is kind of like the more comedical like B horror movies though, just
Right.
like you know it's going to be bad,
Yes.
but that's what makes it good.
Exactly. There's a place and a time for all of it, and I like different horror movies for different reasons. I definitely like watching bad movies and psychotronic movies. That's definitely one of my things. I like the Italian splatter films for their sense of atmosphere, especially the films of that director Fulci.
Okay.
But also for the splatter part, like I'm just an admirer of intricate, innovative ways of showing bodily mutilation. Uh, then, the horror comedies, I like that sort of mixture of fright and fun at the same
Mm-hmm.
time. Like
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is brilliant as far
That
as
is
I'm
one that I
concerned.
have seen.
Okay,
And I
yeah,
love it.
it's great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got pretty much everything, and when a horror lover makes a horror movie for horror lovers that shows off their knowledge, if
Yeah.
it's done the right way, it can be a really powerful thing.
Well, it felt like in not having a whole lot of knowledge in the genre, but it felt like it was taking tropes from other movies and then saying like, all right, well here's the the ditzy girl or whatever. Oh, she's probably gonna be the first one to die, and then they're like, just kidding.
Right.
Or like
Yeah.
like oh like they had their token guy
Mm-hmm.
that they had, that they're just like, all right, well, we're gonna make fun of the fact that all these movies have done that, and
Mm-hmm.
not let, you know, the stereotypical people that would just get killed off just die for, you know, like, I don't know. It was good. Those are
Right.
the things that I already kind of knew going in about horror.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's so many things that I didn't know that they just threw in there that just went right over my head. But it was still a
Yeah.
fun time.
Yeah. No, definitely. It's fun whether or not you're like experienced or seasoned in the genre, but that you picked up on a lot of that is good, and just kind of shows that they were good about showing that they were playing with the tropes. And
Right.
honestly, with Swamp Dogs, that's one of the things that we tried doing too. Is we wanted to feel familiar. We wanted to feel like a movie that you would pick up in a big box at a video store, you know, for a sleepover party or something. But at the same time, update things, tweak things, play with expectations a little bit. And so, you know, hopefully that's something that we accomplished. Maybe not to the Cabin in the Woods level, because we're not trying to completely subvert things, but you know,
Right.
in our own little way.
Right. You want to put nods to certain things that you enjoy, and play with it and move it around a little bit. They were
Right,
going full,
definitely.
like, we're gonna kind of make fun of some of these things and do things differently. Like I mean, I guess it's not really a spoiler about Cabin in the Woods because it's been out for so long now. But like the
Uh-huh.
ending where they're just like, "Oh, you think you can survive?"
Mhm.
Now instead of killing just the people in the cabin, the whole world.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
just like that. That was great.
Yeah. I
Uh,
agree. Definitely.
that was a yeah. Um, I lost my train of thought thinking about that.
You're like, man, I really need to rewatch Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, I saw it when it came out in theaters, and I haven't seen it since.
Okay. You know what? It holds up. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And yeah, if you've spent a lot of time reading horror comics and you're enjoying them, I do think that we're in a new golden age of horror
Mhm.
comics, for what it's worth. You know, there's just some
Yeah.
really fantastic stuff out there. But I would give other horror movies a shot, you know. I'm a big proponent of not discounting an entire genre, whether
Mhm.
it's movies or music or anything, and just
Right.
finding where your taste lies within that genre.
That's true. Yeah.
Maybe you're just a bad movie person, and that's the realm
Right.
in which there's no shortage of good,
I
bad horror movies.
I feel like I always want some comedic edge to the horror movie, whether it's
Yes,
because it's bad or because it's built in.
right. No, absolutely.
Uh,
And there's plenty of that, and there's plenty where they're trying to be bad on purpose, and then there's plenty, and these are much better in my opinion, where they don't know that they're bad.
yeah. I mean, like the probably the worst example of a movie trying to be bad is Sharknado.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I mean, Sharknado, though, that whole series has its charm,
I
definitely,
mean,
but
yeah, it's great.
but it is a little self-aware.
They know how bad it is, and they're having a great time with it,
Right.
and that
Yeah, no,
shows.
it's a lot of fun, definitely.
Um, so besides Swamp Dogs, is there anything else that you're working on writing or thinking about writing?
Yeah, I have a couple pitches in to other publishers that you know have expressed interest.
Okay.
Nothing super close just yet, but I am filled to the brim with ideas. You know, there's
Awesome.
just no shortage of ideas. It's only motivation and time that's going to get in the way. Um, just last night I was working on a short horror story. So that's another thing about me is some of the other stuff that I write is short horror fiction, and I try and write poetry too.
Okay.
None of that's been published yet. Uh, but I've been working on a short horror story about neighbors upstairs in an apartment complex,
Okay.
and just sort of how the modern age has sort of kept us from getting to know our neighbors.
Like what's really going on up there?
Yeah, the story is called "What Are They Doing Up There?"
Oh man, that's perfect. Yeah, and I can, having lived in apartments and heard the upstairs neighbors, I feel that.
Yeah. Honestly, it came from personal experience, but it also came from there was a really funny video that came out on YouTube or something a long time ago that was upstairs neighbors that were professional noisemakers. Like that they took the art of being an upstairs neighbor very seriously. And there was stuff like it would show the downstairs neighbor and they're like, is that someone bowling and riding a horse at the same time? Or and then they would show like all the it was almost like
I think I've seen this.
okay, yeah, like they're like Foley artists, just trying to get the right sound to
Yeah,
confuse people downstairs. So
that's
that's
fantastic.
sort of the inspiration there.
And so, with everything that you're working on right now, sticking with the horror genre or switching things up with any of them?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to branch out. Horror is that's where my heart is, definitely. But I would love to do one of the pitches that I have right now is sort of a dramatic near future sci-fi,
Okay.
like a realistic sci-fi
Yeah.
story. Then I have an idea for a kid's story. Actually, my son is obsessed with the fact that I'm now a published writer, and
Oh,
he says that he's my idea man, and so he's just throwing ideas at me left and right. And he had one that was I mean, I could turn it into a horror story pretty easily, but
yeah.
in my mind, it works best as like a kid's story.
Okay.
So I want to work on that, and I just, yeah, I'm not limiting myself, but
Right.
definitely I'm always going to circle back to horror, and that's where most of my ideas are.
Okay. Awesome. So it sounds like you have a future writer on your hands there.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, what was it for Halloween? His school had a scary story contest, and he's 6, and he won the school's scary story contest.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, and it happened, right around the time that Swamp Dogs 1 came out. So, the joke was, oh, there's 2 writers in the family, and
That's perfect. It's good to have that you guys can talk about too. It's like he's wants to go down that path.
yeah, definitely. He's a For someone who isn't allowed to watch violence on TV, he's a lot more twisted than I am. So, some of these ideas are just like a little bit too much,
Like,
and
where
I'm
did you
definitely
come up
writing
with
some of
that?
them down. Oh God, they're horrific. But I mean, you were a kid once. Nightmares are
Yeah.
always just these twisted freak shows, right? Our brain comes up with some really demented stuff.
I always wonder, like, because from what I understand, it's pulling from something you've seen, whether you've seen it or not. And it's like,
Hmm.
where did that come from?
Right.
Or where did that piece come from that inspired the brain to craft this craziness?
Right. Yeah. No, dreams are a very big source of inspiration for me. There's something that I go back to all the time. Just my dreams, and everybody says like, "Oh, I don't want to hear about your dreams," but I promise mine are interesting, or I can pull the interesting stuff out of it. But also just what it means to dream, where it is that we go when we dream, that sort of a thing has always fascinated me. And
Yeah.
um, in college, I had read dream theory stuff and some Jung, and this idea of there being sort of a science to dreaming and some sort of like a language to it has always really fascinated me. And just that everybody seems to have these same recurring themes or same recurring archetypes that are involved in dreams. My mind just is fascinated by the possibilities that opens up.
Yeah, I weirdly, and I probably do dream, but I don't ever remember, or I don't like a rare occasion I do,
Right.
and then I'm like, oh man, I gotta remember this, and then like it's gone. But
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
true.
weird. I'm
They're
like,
slippery.
people are like, what do you mean you don't dream? I'm like, I don't know. And other people are telling me like every day, like, oh, I had this crazy dream, or this one. I'm like, man, I kind of want to have that going on, because just the crazy ideas that come from that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true. But I not into supernatural stuff, but dreams definitely. Oh, absolutely, they have secrets. I have H.P. Lovecraft is my favorite horror writer, and despite the problematic
Yeah,
stuff and everything
but
else,
Cthulhu.
yeah, well, my favorite stuff of his is the dream realm stuff when he's
Okay.
talking about dreams as sort of a reality, dreams as something that we can't escape from. Um, I I don't know that I can do it because I pulled my back. That's why I'm uh, having my interview from bed. I slipped a disc,
Oh no.
but I can show it upside down. But I have a tattoo of an H.P. Lovecraft story here. No,
Wow.
let's see if we can do it sideways. An
You're
H.P.
good.
Lovecraft story of a person trapped in a dream.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and so that's sort of like one of the things that I find most fascinating is the concept of being like trapped in a dream, or a dream being some sort of a reality that exists outside of you visiting it. Some sort of like an object permanence to
Yeah.
dream locations.
Okay. Okay. I like
Yeah.
that. I just
Uh,
want to have some of those. I feel like people are like, yeah, I just had this like wild thing, and like I want to live that.
right.
How do
Yeah.
you? That's a whole nother topic we talk about, is unlocking dreaming, and I mean the lucid dreaming especially. It's
Oh,
such
yeah,
a
lucid dreaming
fascinating
is
concept.
right. Yeah, that's really tough to do too, and I've only been able to do it a handful of times. But
Wow.
my advice to you, if you want to get weird dreams, because we are a little bit of a garbage in, garbage out machine, um, try watching surrealist film as you fall asleep. Like one of my favorite artists, or my favorite artist, I should say, is a filmmaker, puppeteer, stop motion animator named Jan Spankmeyer. If you
Okay.
watch his movies as you fall asleep, you are guaranteed to have weird dreams. Like I'll even I'll give you a refund on his films if they don't do it for you.
there's some stuff you can probably pick up from like Netflix and stuff that's just like, whoa, someone was
Yeah,
definitely pulling this from an acid trip or
right.
something, and I feel like that's kind of where you got to be to pull dreams out.
Yeah, mental illness or hard drugs, I think, are a pretty good catalyst to some of these more fantastical things. I think some people are born with the ability to dream wild, and other people just seem to have their dreams more as like a function of their everyday. My wife has dreams about like doing. The joke is it's about doing taxes, but it's really just an extension of realistic things that would happen in an everyday setting, whereas mine are flying scorpions and you know uh, country country-sized or state-sized water parks and all kinds of bizarre stuff.
Yeah, I think the last dream I do remember was something kind of ordinary, like my friend was walking their dog. I'm like,
yeah,
this is what I get, like a refund on this dream.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I dreamt that I went to the market and I forgot my list, but then I remembered on the way out that I needed a can of peaches. That was my dream. It definitely happens.
Now, what secrets are hiding in that can of peaches?
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, one of the pitches that I have out to a publisher right now deals very heavily with dreams and dream science.
Awesome.
So when I say it's something that fascinates me, it's very, very, yeah.
Cool. Well, hopefully that gets accepted and we get to see that story down the line.
Yeah. If not there, it'll be somewhere else. It's too good of an idea not to be published at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. What other things you got going on that you want to plug right now? While you're on
honestly, for the time being, this is it. Swamp Dogs. Cool. We are 2 days away from our final order cutoff for issue 3. So, if anything that I've said has resonated with any of you, you can still go to your local comic shop and pre-order Swamp Dogs issue 3, which is slated to come out April 27th. March 2nd is when issue 2 hits the stands. It won't have nearly the number of variant covers that issue 1 had, but there's still a few good ones to choose from. And we're in the process of making 3 a little bit more varied the way that issue 1 was. I think people are going to be really into issue 3. And I think, honestly, as far as collector's items go, issue 3 will probably be the most collectible outside of issue 1 for us. Just because it's the origin story. There's some really key first appearances in there too that factor into just not just Swamp Dog's House of Crows, but the entire mythology that goes into the future arcs.
Cool. And I think John Gallagher did a cover for issue 1 that was pretty cool. Had the Swamp Dogs on the cover with his
style. So John Gallagher is a big believer in our books, to which I'm eternally thankful because his art is amazing. So he's done a cover for issues 1 and 2 so far, and he's committed himself to doing all 5, barring some unforeseen circumstance. But he just really likes the story and where it's going and everything. And we're real peas in a pod. When we were doing our press junket for issue 1, I made sure to get mention in Rue Morgue magazine. And when I got his cover exclusively unveiled by Rue Morgue, he said that was a bucket list moment for him. So awesome. I think we're definitely on the same wavelength there. Just 2 real appreciators of the genre. So I'm lucky to have him.
Yeah, he does some great art. So that's a good cover artist to have putting covers out there for the book.
Yeah, definitely. We actually, of issue 1, we were able to make a poster with his permission of the issue 1 cover, which is really cool. I got them printed for a convention that I was at, but I will be putting them available for sale on our website, which is swampdogscomic.com.
Awesome.
Yeah, they should be available within the next week or so.
Both of us love this other series, Billy the Kit, and John Gallagher did a series of covers for that as well.
Oh, okay.
So now I got to get on the next set of Gallagher covers, it seems.
Yeah. When he and I were first talking, I was looking at his work, and what he had done for Ed Piskor's Red Room is insane. Like, that's...
I've seen a couple of those, yeah.
Yeah, like if I close my eyes, it's pretty haunting imagery. If I close my eyes, I can still see the cover he did with the dynamite all around, like the guy's head.
That That series is very twisted.
Yeah, I've read the first book. I didn't know Piscor had it in. I guess if I allowed myself to get dark, that way I could do something like that. But that's usually like a bridge too far for me. Just like
Yeah.
I've been reading The Crossed from Avatar, and it's really intense. And while I appreciate it and while I enjoy reading it for the most part, there's just stuff out there that turns my stomach, and so I don't ever really want to get that far unless I'm just deciding to go all out. My natural inclination is to pull back a little bit.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I did not make it through the issue 1 of Red Room.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I was like, I love the art.
Yeah. Oh, his artwork's fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
Which is like it wasn't even the visualizations, it was something about the story itself and what they were saying, and I was just like, whew.
It's really rough. It's really rough. Did you ever do Hip Hop Family Tree?
I did not.
Okay,
but I've heard really good things about it.
If you like his art, but you don't want to see people being dismembered for Bitcoin, try Hip Hop Family Tree. It'll educate you, and it's really, really well drawn and really well told. Yeah. That and his X-Men Grand Design was also pretty amazing.
Did they do a Fantastic Four Grand Design?
Yeah, which is Tom Scioli did a Fantastic Four Grand Design, and I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I'll be working with both of them at some point in the future. And Jim Rugg actually just recently announced a Hulk Grand Design that he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something very cool that Marvel's doing. I'm a big fan of those books, and if I had any lick of artistic talent, I'd be chomping at the bit to do one. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. We're coming up on the hour here. Anything else that you want to say about Swamp Dogs, Black Caravan Scout? Link down to the Scout website also if people want to buy. I think they have a web store exclusive there.
Yes. So I will talk a little bit briefly about the web store cover. The web store cover is done by your interior artist, Cuber Ball, and colored by his wife, Shim Ball. And it's going to be an interlocking portrait of all the Swamp Dogs. So I urge anybody who's a fan of his artwork to go get those because it's going to look really cool side by side. We're about to unveil issue 2's web store cover in the very near future, probably by the end of the week.
So that's the one we're talking about here.
Yes, exactly. So we started off with just the very basic looking Swamp Dog, and then as you'll know from having read issue 2, they start getting a little bit stranger looking. And as you can tell from our issue 2's 1 in 10 cover also, they don't all just look like zombies. So issue 2's web store cover is really killer, and it's all going to interlock and look pretty awesome side by side.
Cool.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. But yeah, so I linked that down below. I linked your Instagram and Twitter down below. I gotta go back and add the swampdogscomic.com.
Right. Yeah.
Down there too. So,
okay.
Well, hey, I can do that from here. Look at that.
Technology. It's awesome, isn't it?
Swampdogscomic.com. Throw that in there and save. So that should. Oh. Maybe not. Maybe it doesn't like me to do that now. We'll add it later.
Yeah, it's like really an hour in. It's okay. I'll just say it again. Swampdogscomic.com. Come check it out.
If anyone's still with us in the live chat, Swamp Dogs Comic. comic and link it directly there. But for those watching later, it'll be down in the description.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, talking about Swamp Dogs, talking about all the different horror stuff that we talked about, getting into comics, all of that.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
And thanks everyone who's been watching tonight. Circumstances, thanks for hanging out here. Go get yourself Gallagher.
Circumstances. I'm slow today, and so I was just like, oh, this is Circam stance. Okay, yeah, I get it now.
Which is why you said unforeseen circumstance.
Gotcha.
Which is pretty funny.
That's
pretty
good.
Thanks everyone watching tonight. Enjoy the rest of your new comic book day. Read some good comics. And tomorrow night, actually, we're going to be keeping the Black Caravan train going. We'll have David Byrne over here to talk about his upcoming horror comic. David Byrne's canceled. So he's getting canceled tomorrow night. So, not quite like that, no. But Caroline will be with us tomorrow night. She couldn't come join us tonight, unfortunately. And we'll be continuing talking about horror. So it's that kind of week.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Good night, everybody. And let me find my closing clip here. Have a nice night.